This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to be, Pop Experience. Welcome back to another episode of Pop Goes to the Couch. I'm James Gruenberg, alongside J. Arsenio D'Amato and Greg Diener. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Well, it's a fantastic Saturday night as we're recording this.
Wonderful. I'm gonna miss you guys. This is our second to last ep. Yeah. Gonna miss our Saturday night dates, but life goes on. It went by quick. We're rolling along, and it looks like next week's episode is rolling without any interruption. I figured they would skip a week for the holiday or something, but I think that it's just gonna roll like regular, and that's gonna be it. So maybe a bit of extended ep, but it's gonna be the finale.
Yeah, I know. So we are into Mighty Ducks Game Changers, episode 9, Head Games. And in our last episode, we left off on a bad note. Alex got mad at the team, and Evan literally says to the team, "I'm going to fire my mom." So we start off in Evan's room, and Nick calls him, and Nick's like, "Oh, you didn't fire your mom yet?" And Evan's like, "No, dude, I'm trying to find the right time to do it." So then, the opening credits, but where it's leading to. It leads to, Evan firing his mom, and she realizes why she's getting fired, because she let winning get to her head, and she needs to, come back to finding the word fun again, basically.
Yeah, I'm surprised. She took it kind of okay.
Yeah. I thought she was going to take it horribly, but no, fine.
No, but like I said, at first she was like, "Oh, I'm fired." But then I think she realized at the end of the episode what she did, and she understands why this is happening, that, she just needs to find what happened and get herself back on track. So, she basically says that she's going to do, work in the office, and, Bombay's going to take the team to States.
Yep. And right away, Gordon gets on the bus and says, "Okay, I'm in charge now." So.
And Nick goes, "That means we can do whatever we want, right? Like push all the elevator buttons and, run a ruckus." And he goes, "No, but look on the bright side, Nick. We're going to States." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that this is my first time being away from my mom and everybody." So my mom's actually. Yeah. So, everyone's talking, they're basically talking about the party, but the girls are saying, "Oh, let's have a girls' night." But then, Evan texts Sophie that, "Oh, will you go to the party with me?" And Sophie just texts back a princess emoji, and Evan and the rest of the guys think that Evan just got friend zoned, but Sophie says, "Oh, see you there." But Evan's like, "Is she just saying she just wants to be friends and not go with me?" But Nick is like, "Yo, man, just do my move. Put your arm around her, And he's like, "Yeah, I think I'll save that one, for when I actually, ask her out, after I ask her out." And he's like, "Oh, okay. But yeah, man, you can use my move."
Yeah.
I wonder how many times do you think the over the shoulder has worked for Nick?
0.
John, how many times does that work for you?
The same as Nick, 0. But there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I'm not an expert on the subject, but Evan makes the brutal mistake of telling his boys that he likes Sophia, and then all his boys chime in with horrific advice. That's always the first bad move, because your boys, except maybe Sam and the pretty boy, they might be the only ones that experience with a couple dates, but otherwise, your boys are going to give you the worst advice. Most likely, they're going to give you advice that's not going to get your girl, because they're going to be jealous that you got somebody better than them. But Sam comes up with a DTR, define the relationship. some fancy abbreviation that the kids use nowadays. I don't know. I never heard about that DTI. I heard of DTF,
No.
which I heard of DTF, which means something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, I mean, it's like learning GTL. It's like, what's GTL? Gym Tan Laundry. It's like, oh man, I hate the Jersey Shore, ruined everything.
I'm turning 37 on Tuesday. I am way too damn old to understand what any of this means.
Well, I'm right behind you. I'm turning 29 on Monday.
Youngsters, damn, both birthdays back to back. That's nice. Very good.
Yeah. So no, what were you gonna say, Jay?
The also Sophie is influenced by the little girls clique. What's the girl? Lauren says, "Oh no, this is a girls trip and we hanging and all that." So Sophie kind of gets influenced by that. That's kind of why she curbed Evan a little.
Yeah. So then at the office, Alex is working when she overhears Stephanie on the phone arguing with her husband. So Stephanie looks and she sees Alex. So we don't know the reason why Stephanie's arguing. So we'll get into that too. But it was just like a heads up that, Stephanie's not the only one in the office.
Yeah.
So Bombay checks the team into the hotel. And Myra goes wandering off. She goes, "Oh, hey, about that girls' night. Not going to happen. I just met this guy from another team, and we're going to go check out the game room. So you're on your own." So then,
all that talk about girls' trip and all that went away. As soon as she saw
that went right out the window. And then, Lauren at least makes a friend sacrifice, and she goes, "Oh, hey, Sophie, if you want to ask Evan, go to the party with Evan. I mean, if you like him, go tell him." So, Lauren's giving the same advice, that Sam's giving, and Lauren's going to, sacrifice the girls' weekend for, to make what she thinks will make Sophie happy by asking Evan to the party. So good on Lauren, it's just bad that she's kind of kicked to the curb a little bit, but at least she's trying to help Sophie a little bit too. So then, Bombay encounters Coach T for really the first time, I think, I don't know. I don't think they ever encountered each other first. And, Coach T is basically just you don't belong here. He's like, yeah, I found it really shocking we got here too, for every Coach T, diss that he has to Bombay can just come back. That's what I love Emilio Estevez's dialogue, all the sarcasm and, that's how I just picture him in real life. It's he's just full of sarcasm. I really love Emilio Estevez's dialogue. If you're just watching a movie about him, if it's the first Mighty Ducks or it's The Breakfast Club, he always has just funny, witty dialogue.
Yeah.
Talking about Coach T saying, "Are you trying to get in my head?" And Gordon's like, "Yeah, maybe I'm already there." And it's got Coach T thinking, yeah.
So then Evan is basically doing a news interview, and he goes to the news girl, who we find out is MJ. So I just referred to her at first that her name was News Girl, but then or Podcast Girl, either way.
Yeah, podcast.
She's always got a phone, and she's always recording something. So Evan goes, "Hey, off the record, how do you ask a girl to the party?" And the news girl actually thinks that Evan was asking her to this party.
Oh.
How do you how do you put that together?
Yeah, and MJ right away hugs him and says, "Yes, I'll go with you."
What? So Sophie sees that and she is mad at Evan.
I don't think that's bad journalism if you're going out with one of the subjects you're interviewing. I
think. Yeah, now MJ's just playing favoritism. Evan's going to get all the interview time.
It's going to be a little biased, yes.
So then we go back to the office, and Alex and Stephanie are talking, and not everything is perfect in Stephanie's world. Stephanie is getting a divorce, and Stephanie basically just crumbles down and opens up, saying that she envies Alex and Evan's relationship. So, she asks, "Oh, why are you here?" And Alex goes, "Well, because I need to do some soul searching as well." So, Stephanie really comes clean that her life isn't perfect, And to me, this was like a really interesting plot twist that we think that Stephanie is this, we are seeing that Stephanie's this person who's like, don't get in my way or I'll squash you like a bug, always trying to be number one. And then not everything is perfect in her world either.
Yeah, she's shows her vulnerability too to Alex, and then they both kind of bond over their, because Alex, just got fired, and Stephanie's pretty much got fired from her marriage, so they're both kind of bonding over a bottle of wine, and
yeah.
And then, if it was a Disney show, it would probably end in a little HLA, some tongue kissing and scissoring, but it didn't happen.
We'll get to more on HLA at the end. I got one for you.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, and then so Alex goes, I kind of like depressed Stephanie, and she was like, I know, right? Depressed Stephanie makes me a better person. Let's drink, So they're gonna get into that bottle, and they're gonna have their own little fun. So then we get to this party, everyone's there. So then, let's see. All right, so. Nick goes, "Oh, hey, Evan, why are you going with MJ?" And Evan literally says, "MJ cornered me, and she thinks I'm going with her, so I'm just going with her." So Nick is like, "Yo, man, you better treat her right. MJ's like a really good friend of mine." So and then Evan sees Sophie with Trevor, the bully of the Ducks, basically, who was always picking on Evan, and Evan's like, well, why are you with Trevor and all this stuff? So they're basically just dancing with their dates to make the other one jealous.
Oh yeah, very typical.
Yeah, Evan's showing his moves.
And then I didn't really think of much of it, but Myra and her boyfriend are having arguments, and then they get back together. But, that was really a pretty low C- plot story for no reason.
Yeah, everybody's trying to make each other jealous, and a little relationship stuff with teens or preteens is it's a little wonky.
Well, so then, what's in the title? Head Games.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I guess now we know why the title is what it is, and everyone's just getting into each other's head, and everything might be crumbling, or they can just pull their heads back and realize that everything's gonna be fine, and we can get all past through this.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we also catch. Coach T has to deal with like a douchey parent saying, my kid better, get a lot of ice time, and my kid better do this. And then Coach T and Gordon kind of bond, and he's like, oh, parents, huh?
Yeah. So then, like you said, Jay, Coach T and Bombay, they're bonding a little bit. Again, this is where I actually thought that, Coach T was kind of a nice guy, They're he
does turn. Yeah, you thought it was gonna be the face turn. Yeah.
Well, you can't have two face turns in one episode.
Yeah. And so Bombay, reveals what he did at St. Paul, and the whole I loaned a kid money to go get the tape, on his stick, and that was a rule violation, so I got asked to leave. And Coach T basically used it to his advantage, as we're gonna find out. So he's just like, "Oh no, let's hang out and tell me more." So, Sophie tells Evan the photo booth he's being a jerk, so we know like where they're at, like they're just mad at each other. And then MJ out of nowhere tells Evan, "Oh, I was just using you to get to Nick because I like Nick."
Oh, jeez.
Beautiful.
And so, Nick.
Evan takes it well. He just puts them together. He's like, yeah,
She's like, yeah, that's fine. Good for you.
Yeah.
MJ. That's so nice that you like Nick. I'm so happy for you guys. Because he really won MJ off his back too.
Oh yeah. And Nick gets the girl. So
yeah,
good for him.
Yeah. So Nick and MJ are dancing the night away, and the next day at breakfast, Nick is like, I get the girl, yes. So everything is like, it's like everything's going up Millhouse, everything's going up Nick. So then, like I said, Coach T used Bombay's words against him, and he tells the league officials because it's an NCAA certified tournament. So that means that Bombay's ban affects this tournament because it's NCAA certified, and Bombay cannot coach anything within NCAA radius, basically.
Well, here's what I don't understand. The NCAA didn't know that he was coaching, like, for this team. Like, do they not know that Google exists?
I mean, I don't think it's not like in the first movie that like where like the Don't Bothers were getting like paper time, time in the newspaper, like articles written about them. So like I feel like no one really did know that Coach Bombay was there up until this point. I mean, not even like in the TV interview does Alex once mention Gordon Bombay's name. So I'm going to have to say no, Greg. I don't think anyone really did know that Bombay was there. I mean, if Stephanie wanted to, she could have said something like, "Oh, hey,
but he owns the venue." Like,
yeah.
And also it was what Gordon did was an NCAA violation. This is a friggin' youth hockey, so it shouldn't really have one to do with it. They're very false.
Yeah, I know.
But also they want to get over the Coach T was the one that ratted him out. So the Coach T, not even a heel turn. It was me all. It was Coach T all along. It was Coach T all along.
Oh, son of a bitch.
The guy never turned. He's the guy. Coach T stayed a heel.
Talk about your soap opera, man. Where you feel like the bad guy's gonna be like a really nice person, and he just turns out to be like just a mean person.
Yeah, no such luck.
No.
So then Evan calls Alex, and she's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So Stephanie does a really nice thing, and she drives Alex to Gordon's small hearing, Gordon pleads his case, but the NCAA officials aren't buying it. Alex walks in with Stephanie. Stephanie does stand by Coach T's side, but she doesn't say a word, so.
No, that's key.
Yeah, Stephanie just lets Alex do her thing, and I think this was a really good on Stephanie's part that, Alex can handle herself and is capable of standing up for herself and fighting for what she believes in.
Yeah, and she says, she reiterates exactly what I said, that whatever happened with Gordon's collegiate coaching ban, it doesn't pertain to youth hockey, and the board kind of says, yeah, you're right, and Gordon's reinstated.
Oh yeah, but that's only I forgive me, Jay, I didn't understand like what you were saying too, because I was going to get to it where it's like they say, oh well, like it's NCAA certified, but she finds that loophole of where she goes, yeah, but like no one from the NCAA came to see us or wanted to make us a certified playoff team. So it's on you guys because, you didn't send a scout to scout us. And they're like, They got us there. So, well, since no one scouted the Don't Bothers or took them seriously, no one was out there to scout them. So Bombay can stay as his coach.
Irony of ironies. They didn't bother with the Don't Bothers.
Yeah. So let's talk about Stephanie. You know, I just thought, like, you know, this was a nice touching moment, like, where, you know, Stephanie just backs off, but also, like, this is Alex's moment to shine, where, you know, like I said, she gets to just stand up for herself and use her voice. You know, Alex was finding her voice, and she finally found it, you know, when it was needed.
Yeah,
a voice of a lawyer. And
they rally around her and they said, "Yeah, you're right. You're hired back as coach. You're no longer fired." That was a quick.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
So Greg and Jay, I don't know, Jay, if you watched. Did you watch D3, The Mighty Ducks? Like, did you see the movie?
Well, yeah.
I know it's a long stretch, but, like, it just reminded me of when, you know, Bombay was called back to get the kids their scholarships reinstated at Eden Hall. Greg, did you pick up on that?
Actually, to be honest, I've never seen D3 all the way through.
Oh, yeah, like it's more of just a movie than it is like the games, basically. And
James, you're more up on 2 and 3, like 2 and 3, like I watch, but I don't have any recollection. I mean, I know every scene. I know every scene of 1, but yeah, not 2 and 3. But that's good though, James. Yeah.
I love 1, but 2 is my jam, mainly because Kenan Thompson and Benny the Jet are in it.
Kenan Thompson, yeah. But yeah, you know, so, like, you know, it just brought me back to, like, a little moment in D3 when Gordon Bombay's got to come back and be the Ducks, like, lawyer, saying, "You can't take away these kids' scholarships. There's no reason to, and if you do, I'll slap you with an injunction and I will sue you until these kids are graduating college." You know, so they were just like, "Oh, crap, we need to, like, reinstate these kids, like, you know, into Eden Hall." So it worked out both ways, you know.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, Gordon Bombay is usually not the one on the bench. He's representing the people. He's representing the people who are, you know, put on trial and everything.
No, not even when he was put on trial for his DUI.
He represented himself, and the judge was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to release you into your own custody. I trust you. You know, it's not like you're going anywhere." So, yeah, they say, "Welcome back, coach." You know, so Alex is going to be a coach. And on the bus, you know, Sophie and Evan, they say that they like each other. And, you know, as the team pulls into the stadium, Gordon gives them the pep talk, but then Alex tells the team, "Remember, we're going to have a fun battle, you know. Win or lose, it's all about having fun." So
yeah,
Alex finally found the word fun again, and, you know, she gives the team very good hopes and puts the team in very good spirits too.
Yeah, and that was a nice little awkward moment where Evan and Sophie said, "I like you," and, you know, "and I like you too," and then Sophie gives a little kiss. So. Little teen romance moment, and then as the finale, they're pulling up to the Minnesota Igloo for the big states finale.
Yeah.
Is that a real stadium, the Minnesota Igloo?
I don't think so.
I don't think.
Okay.
It's not that's the Igloo in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, I just didn't know, like, if that was an actual, like, where, like, one of the Pittsburgh, like, colleges played hockey or something. I mean, the Minnesota, not Pittsburgh, the Minnesota, like, colleges played. Yeah, you know, and they were just using that to film. But so,
you know, now every stadium has to be like you know, All-State Stadium or Magnum Coliseum or whatever. Everything has to have a brand name, you know.
Yeah, this one's the
Trojan Coliseum and
the Trojan Coliseum.
Trojan Coliseum.
Tampax Stadium. Everything's got to be sponsored. You know?
Hey, we're almost approaching idiocracy levels. We might get there in 10 years.
Yeah, I'll create my own stadium. I got sponsorship. We'll be called Grooney Stadium in a while, you know. So Do you guys think that by some chance, episode 10 might be an hour-long episode?
Yeah, they'll probably blow it out to maybe at least like 45, 50 minutes. They'll blow
I
it out.
know, yeah.
I don't remember how long the finales of, say, The Mandalorian, Falcon and Winter Soldier were. I want to say they were close to an hour, sort of.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you can't just put a whole tournament because, I mean, I saw the preview and that board was pretty big for all those teams, to be honest. So I think they are going to expand it to an hour. I'd be shocked if they were like, oh, we can do a half-hour tournament. It's like, no, you can't.
They could just do a quick montage of them beating teams in the
Yeah. Because
I know,
the series,
I would think like for the first one, like you need to have like, a full game of like the first round and then maybe the second round you pull it back and then the third, like, with the Ducks. So that's where I think, I mean, yeah, we do. I mean, we all agree. I mean, I'm not trying to speak for you guys that the Ducks and the Don't Bothers are going to meet in the finals. Do we not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's all leading to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly,
whatever's
the hockey
going to happen in the finals, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, the hockey scenes haven't really been much, and they've been kind of weak. So I think they'll just continue, and it'll be like Greg said, it'll be probably quick montages, like a minute each of highlights of how they get there, and then the big finale game, they'll blow that out a little and have have extended scenes. But the hockey scenes have been kind of the weak points of the show.
Well, it's more story driven.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, now that we're on to like the last episode where it's just basically the tournament, so hopefully we get a little bit more of the hockey time, with a little bit of off. So, I'm gonna go for the full hour mark. I mean, I know that you guys are saying the 45-minute, but I'm definitely trying to shoot for the full hour mark.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yep. So before we wrap up this episode of Pop Goes to the Couch, as always, do you guys have anything to plug? John, do you want to start off if you have anything?
Yeah, just one thing. We did an NBA playoff preview on the North-South connection, another network. So check for that. Some shitty predictions and talked about my beloved New York Knicks, long-suffering fan. So check that out. Me and the Cowboy and Cowboy Senior and Ryder. So we did that on another network. Otherwise, low profile.
I will say Thibodeau, Coach of the Year, probably.
Thank you. Yes.
And Greg.
Well, okay. Into the Spidey movieverse. As we're recording, episode 3 on Spider-Man 3 is not out yet, but I'm hoping it will be released sometime this week. But It Was a Thing on TV this week. We got a loaded episode. We're actually, John, I actually told you about this. We're looking at the 1980s syndicated classic roller games.
Ah, yes.
And also, we'll also be talking about the interactive games from the mid-90s on the Family Channel with Wink Martindale, Trivial Pursuit, Boggle, and the like. And actually, my co-host Mike actually shares a personal story because one of the games, the gimmick of the interactive games of the Family Channel was you would play along with your touch-tone keypad using a 900 number. And Mike tells a story about how he actually was one of the top 10 contestants and what happened after that. So I won't spoil the story, but it's a pretty good story. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
I got a feeling that phone bill came out of Mike's allowance.
Well, it was $4.95 a call, so it wasn't much. Thankfully.
Yeah. Well, guys, John, remember when you said the word HLA, over on the North-South connection.
It's not really a word, but
the phrase HLA.
God bless you, Eric Bischoff.
Well, it stands for something else. As this episode is going to drop on Tuesday, I have the distinct pleasure of recording an episode of the Ruthless Aggression podcast with Jacob Williams over on the North-South Connection podcast, where we talk about that Monday Night Raw with the the Lesbians, and the number one contenders match for Triple H's World Heavyweight title at Unforgiven. Rob Van Dam, Chris Jericho, Jeff Hardy, and The Big Show. They step in for the Fatal 4-Way Elimination match to determine who fights Triple H at Unforgiven 2002, and the SmackDown episode of that week, which featured the Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo wedding. And I'm not going to give spoilers to see how that ended, but you know how it ends. It just went on. It went on 3 minutes too long, but no spoilers. But you know, it's a good one. So I get the honor of covering that with Jacob. I can also be found on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I do a podcast called Extreme Resurrection with Michael Cook, you know, covering ECW on Sci-Fi. We're getting past SummerSlam 2006, you know, and the release of Kurt Angle, and we're getting into, you know, Big Show and you know, Hardcore Holly becoming like heels, you know, and DX making an appearance on ECW just to promote, you know, DX versus the Big Show and McMahon's for their Unforgiven 06 match. So lots of stuff to talk about on ECW and Extreme Resurrection as well. So that's going to do it here tonight for Pop Goes to the Couch, Mighty Ducks Game Changers. I'm James Gruenberg alongside Greg Diener and John Arsenio D'Amato, and we will see you for the season finale. It might be the series finale, we don't know, but for the season finale of Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
Alrighty.
Have a good one.